here. All right. We'd like to introduce Lisa Pyron with Kiwanis International. Your official title is the Director of Youth.
Oh, well, I'm a development specialist at Key Club International. And then another title is I'm Project Happiness Ambassador at Key Club International as well.
See, now that's a new title. I didn't hear that one. Nice. Okay. Well, and that fits in perfectly with what we are here to discuss with Lisa is how to be mindful. And what we mean by mindful is really your mental health and being conscious of taking care of it. So first, I'd like to just let you give a little bit of background as to what got you started on that path of mindfulness in general, why it's important for students, like how it's now kind of a target for you for students and with Key Club. Go ahead.
Well, I've always had a background in mental health because I have family members who struggle with mental health issues. So I really saw firsthand, especially how my children were impacted by this difficulty with being able to navigate life successfully, right? So being able to understand what's going on inside and how it impacts us for the way we behave with others and relationships. And so, you know, that was kind of interesting having that aspect. What got me into this was seeing how much my children were struggling with it. And then I had a period of time when I was kind of struggling with a little depression. And I'm a pretty positive, upbeat kind of person, hadn't really had any trouble with this. And I read this amazing book called The Mindful Brain. And it was all about neuroscience, talking about how the brain works and the mind-body connection and how understanding what's going on in our inner world can impact how we feel about things. And it really kind of changed my life. And I sought counseling with a woman who focused on mindfulness. And mindfulness is all about being in the present moment, allowing that moment to unfold as it will without judgment. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of liberating for me, being able to let go of this judgment and feel comfortable in the here and the now. Mm-hmm. Because time in the here and the now, I was always spending time worrying about what was happening next, or regretting something that happened a long time ago that I couldn't change, right? Yep. Or just beating myself up with all these negative self-thoughts. So I learned through mindfulness how to recognize this and kind of turn that off.
Okay, very good. So it reminds me of a book that I just read fairly recently called The Power of Now.
Yes, I've read The Power of Now. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So, and it is very true. We're so, and and I think particularly with the student population, there's so much pressure on them to, they don't have much of a past, but boy, everybody's really concerned about their future and making them think, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? And,
right.
So mindfulness is definitely a huge piece of that. So how, I guess this will be a two-part question. How long have you been kind of focusing on that student population, the high school student population? And second, what have you seen with the quarantine that you've noticed you've had to tweak, maybe, good or bad?
Yeah, well, okay, so I've been doing this about 8 years. I guess it's been about 8 to 10 years with students. What I noticed, okay, so I work with Key Club International, and it's a service organization for high school students. And what I noticed was we were having this issue with bullying, not being very kind to each other. And the students were asking for resources. And when you think about it, at the core of bullying, it's our ability to be able to empathize with others. And mindfulness helps with this. And I learned that through my practice. So when you're practicing mindfulness, you learn more about the emotions you're feeling and what that feels like. When we recognize emotions in self, we recognize emotions in others. And we can more easily empathize and make a better connection. And when you empathize with someone else and you can see from their perspective, you see them as being more like you than not, and you're less likely to harm them. So this whole concept of mindfulness really helps with that bully prevention. So about 8 years ago, I was tasked with finding something we could use in this area, and I kind of connected with Project Happiness, who uses neuroscience, mindfulness, and positive psychology, and creates these practices so that you can learn more about your inner world and to change how you respond so that you respond instead of react. And it makes a difference in life. You're kinder, more compassionate, more empathetic. And it truly has an impact on how we relate to others, right? So that kind of impacts that nature to want to bully. When we disconnect from other people and we don't relate to them as well, it's easier to judge them and to be critical and to be mean. But when you see our connection to others, you feel more compassion and empathy. So that kind of, hopefully that answers how I got involved and why I felt it was important for Key Club. The Key Clubbers really asked for this. They really wanted to know more about how to rewire the brain for happiness. And that's what I was teaching, and I still teach. Now during quarantine, this comes into play tenfold. I hear students are, we all have this picture in our head about how things are supposed to be, right? So here you're in your senior year, you have all these ideas of how it's supposed to go, and all that is gone. It's all changed. And so learning to let go of this picture in our head of how it's supposed to be, so letting go of that and learning to be in the moment and appreciate what's happening here and now in all its beauty, helps us deal with some of this loss we're experiencing. And that's what's happening. It's loss, right? So there are techniques that I've been using. It's the same thing, I had this idea in my head how my year was going to go. There was going to be lots of traveling and connecting with Key Club members at convention and all these amazing things. And it all went away within a matter of, a week, right? When all these announcements were made about quarantining. And so that's been very difficult. So again, using some of my practices, taking time to slow down, to pause, to be grateful. So being grateful and being thankful for what I have and being in the moment. And I can share a couple of short meditations if you're interested, but I usually come back to my breath, breathe in peace, breathe out frustration. I'll name it to tame it, which when you name an emotion that you're feeling that feels like it's kind of overwhelming you, I name the emotion and I breathe in ease and breathe out frustration. And I kind of calm myself down and come back to the present moment and feel calm. So anyway, these are some of the things I've been doing through quarantine.
Okay. So it's interesting that you bring up the reaction response.
Sorry.
Speaking of reaction and response.
Yeah, that's my dog Axel. Axel, come here. And I will say mindfulness, when you're calm, it impacts who you're with, right? People react differently to you when you're really calm, as do animals.
Sure. Well, so I've heard this quarantine, this pandemic situation being compared to like the Pearl Harbor or the 9/11 type events, for this generation, right? And I had to take pause of that because there's a big difference between those events and this event. Is we reacted to the other events. It happened for a few hours, and we reacted. This pandemic gives us, it's almost like the world is is saying, I need you to be in the now. And it's allowing us to hopefully take that opportunity to, instead of react, respond and come out better as a human race, really, if we can do this right. So, and that's part of why, you know, we feel our Altruize app can help people, you know, use that as a tool to help them be better as they move forward. But then that's also, I think, where like key clubs really can shine. So why don't you dive a little bit into what a key club is, in case somebody hasn't heard of it. How does a key club get started in a school? Because maybe some of the people that are listening haven't heard of Kiwanis yet. So give a kind of a brief overview on that.
So Kiwanis International is a service organization. We're worldwide. We focus on helping the youth of the world. One of the main things that we do is we focus on, since focusing with youth, we have service clubs for every grade level, really, for elementary, high school, college, and we have service clubs for adults with disabilities. But Key Club is huge for us. These are high school students. Usually a Kiwanis club will sponsor a Key Club at a school, but it's not necessary. Oftentimes we have teachers that start up Key Clubs. They're interested, or a student learns about us and they're interested in getting something going. And so they go to our website and all the materials are available to download to learn how to start a Key Club. And they download the information, talk to a teacher. There's a faculty advisor at the school who helps with guiding the club. And the students will get a group of people together. Usually there are about 15 students that might be interested in the beginning, sometimes fewer, but it usually grows pretty quickly because they're focusing on what they're passionate about. The student will, they look around, they assess the school, the community, what the needs are, identify what they can do, plan a service project to help with those needs, and then they make it happen, right?
Yeah.
So they do all these amazing service projects. And, you know, when we're doing community service, when we're giving back, it's just so amazing for our overall well-being. And I think that's one of the reasons our programs have been so successful. The Key Club members, they're following their passion, they're connecting to others with like minds. You know, they can be as different, so different. All the people in the Key Club can be so completely different, but they have that one passion in common.
Yep.
They want to make the world. They want to make the world a better place, and they get together and they decide we can do this. And Key Clubbers are amazing. They see no obstacles, right? Sometimes as adults, we see the obstacle. Right. Oh, we can't do that. But with Key Club, it's not like that. The students figure out a way. Yeah. And as an advisor, usually there's a Kiwanis advisor. I'm a Kiwanis advisor, but to an elementary club, K-Kids. As an advisor, whenever you work with youth, it keeps you young, keeps you engaged, helps you see, new perspectives. Yeah. It's wonderful for the adults working with youth as well. Sometimes I think we forget that, but anyway.
Cool. So that's even something then, if one of our Altruize ambassadors is looking to start a Key Club as one of their activities as an ambassador, then I didn't realize that they could do that even if there's not a Kiwanis club to sponsor them. So that's great to know. Yes. So what is the website that they should go to get that information?
It is keyclub.org, and on the website you'll see the location for building a club and all the resources. Okay. And then we have Key Club volunteers pretty much in every state that you can reach out to on a local level to help, which is wonderful.
Great.
Yes. Yeah, helpful students that can give a helping hand.
Wonderful. Well, any closing thoughts?
Oh, let's see, closing thoughts. Just use self-compassion during this time. So one of the major, or something very helpful that I learned, I didn't learn this till later on in life, self-compassion is available to us when things aren't going really well. We have self-confidence when things are going great, right? But when things aren't going so hot, that's when we kind of struggle. And using self-compassion can help us get through this time. And it's all about treating self like you would a best friend. So something's going wrong and you acknowledge how you feel, so you kind of name it to tame it. You realize that you're not perfect. No one is. That's part of common humanity. None of us are perfect. And then kind of letting yourself know it's going to be okay. And so knowing that through this difficult time, you know, it's really scary and it's okay to feel that way. So no judgment there. We're all a little frightened. This is a troubling time, but know that you're not in this alone. Everyone is experiencing this fear and this frustration, and give yourself a break. It's okay. You know, let yourself know it's okay. And with that, we kind of turn off that fight, flight, freeze response.
Gotcha.
Which doesn't enable us to problem solve. When we're stressed out in fight, flight, and freeze, we can't move forward. But when we feel calm and we feel cared for, and that's by self. So when you feel that you care for self, you can kind of calm down, pause, and respond and figure out what you're going to do next.
Yeah. And now that things are opening back up, we're at the response stage. So it's kind of time to, all right, gear up that confidence again. Make sure you've given yourself some self, compassion, like you said, and we can do this. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Lisa. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. I hope that was helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you again. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.